It's a shame that members opposite continue to peddle the fake narrative they've been told to push by DEFRA ministers and the whips, the one that says my party is playing political games. Today's motion clearly demonstrates the opposite if they've read it, bringing back the government's own legislation without amendment or embellishment. Let's remember, this is a bill that's been through Bill Committee, through scrutiny, through second reading, the government's own legislation. Just doing the right thing for our nation's animal welfare. The country can judge themselves who the true party of animal welfare is. I think we've heard enough speech today on our benches that we all know who that is. But while the government and their compliant backbenchers do their best to dance around the issues and deflect responsibility, we know the real reason they withdrew the bill. Leaked internal documents clearly show they scrapped the Kept Animals Bill just to avoid unnecessary tensions and campaigns in their own party on their own bench, and I think we've seen that played out again today. The truth is that Tories are far more concerned with their own internal politics than the welfare of animals, and they've shown contempt for the electorate and a staggering inability to govern by doing so. The Kept Animal Bill is not the first animal welfare legislation this Tory government has mishandled. As others have mentioned, they also bungle their so-called world-leading animal low welfare activities abroad bill too. With the Animals Abroad bill has not come to pass. Yet another casualty of a fractured party marred by infighting. I will to my neighbour. I will give way.
Minister for giving way, and he's making an excellent pre-prepared speech. I note that he and his opposition members are agreeing to the aspirations of this Conservative government, but what I haven't heard through this Opposition Day debate is one new policy idea which is coming from the opposition benches. May he be able to expand on any ideas that the opposition party could bring forward?
Honourable neighbour is making the case why I should vote for this, because we are not bringing forward Labour policy, we are bringing forward Conservative policy. We're bringing forward a Conservative bill meant to be delivered by a Conservative government, and they're going to vote against their own amendment. I mean, lots of speech today about consensus, how we have consensus in place on animal welfare issues. I think we are just proving that, and they are later, and I'm sure he will, vote in the other lobby and disprove that that really is the case in reality rather than just in theory. I just want to say, if we look at the delay we've seen, how many animals must have suffered thanks to the Conservatives' abject political failure by not legislating the provisions of their own bill and waiting 2 years to finally admit they're abandoning it on the 25th of May, a month ago. They have created an unknown number of animal victims. How many animals have suffered because of this political choice? Members opposite can continue to argue the thin gruel of the government's legislation on animal welfare is success. Yet they still haven't managed to ban fur and foie gras imports, something they promised the public in their manifesto 4 years ago and has cross-party support. Just like with other pieces of flagship and welfare legislation, as I mentioned, the Animals Abroad bill, this is a good piece of legislation cast aside, consigned to the scrap heap. I think we can all agree it just shows how low animal welfare is really on the government's list of priorities. What's more, the Kept Animals Bill was a solid piece of legislation, which I said in response to the member for Keighley. It covers a wide range of issues. It's not the most newsworthy, but it is vitally important. They promised it would bring in some of the world's highest and strongest protections of pets, livestock and kept wild animals. In the Labour Party, animal welfare is not a debate. It is a priority. I'd like to praise a number of colleagues who made really important contributions to this debate. The honourable member for Ealing Southhold made some excellent points about pet smuggling. He was right to say the pet passport scheme has loopholes, and this bill would fix those. The honourable member for Sheffield Brightside was right to be horrified by keeping primates as pets, and this bill is the solution. I think my honourable friend, the member for Rotherham, who's the esteemed chair of the Zoos and Aquariums APPG, do great work representing a global success story for the UK in conservation. She rightly pointed out the bill would update the now woefully out-of-date zoo licensing standards. Since the bill was dropped by the government, there is no plan, and if there is, I'd like to hear it, by the government on zoo licensing, and zoo licensing has been left in the wilderness. The member for West Lancashire very astutely pointed out that puppy smuggling is part of organised crime. This government clearly doesn't take animal crime seriously either. The honourable member for Chester, my friend from Chester, who has the world-leading zoo in her constituency, and a number of other members from the North West also praised Chester Zoo, and I am going shortly, and I'm sure I'll see her there, rightly pointed out that licensing issues continue to plague not just Chester Zoo, but zoos across the country, and also point out the trailblazing work by her council on trail hunting, which others have since adopted. The Honourable Member for Southport again made excellent points about zoo licensing, and it's great there's so much support out there for that, and also made powerful points for his constituents that the government should keep its manifesto promises, which he utilised a couple of very powerful examples from his own casework from his own constituents. The Honourable Member for Lancaster and Fleetwood highlighted the very high number of issues, just beginning with the letter B. And I was pleased to hear about the bees, the badgers and other bee animals. But she went on to talk about the cost of living crisis affecting pets and the need for pet food banks. There are many other issues with our beloved pets that need addressing and would the government need to address. The Honourable Member, my friend from Pontypridd, reminds us about the Animal Abroad Bill being dropped by the government as well as this bill, and her wider point that the government is legislating by private members' bills is not really a government leading, but a government following their own backbenches. I will give way to the member for Darlington.
Very grateful to the Shadow Minister for giving way. As somebody who had the privilege of coming out of the ballot a number of years ago, and I was able to bring forward a bill, it wasn't in relation to animals, but I can attest to the minister sitting on this front bench, who was a minister in the Transport Department at that particular time, directed her support inside that government department to give me every help along that way. And absolutely, government, if they are supporting a private member's bill, lend their support to individuals who have taken them forward.
I think that's a different point. I agree, and I've sat on bill committees with the minister that he's talking about. But the point is to get the number of measures in this bill through this place, through private members' bill, is not a government legislating. It is merely piecemeal legislation. There is no guarantees at all that we will see every measure in this bill through this House by the end of this Parliament session before the next general election. As my honourable friend, the Shadow Secretary of State, points out, hardly any is the most likely outcome. But the proof will be in the pudding at the general election, and we'll all see. Finally, I just want to mention my honourable friend, the member for Stretford-Urmston, who was right again about the dithering delay and made a number of good points that this bill is so long in gestation that actually predates his entry into the House. And so, we've got a number of members actually spoke who haven't been here as long as this bill. That is why we're proposing this motion to resurrect the Kept Animals Bill and set a date very shortly, the 12th of July, to get it moving through the legislative process. It's really quite simple. We are here today as politicians, yes, but we need to do our job and do the right thing. In this case, the right thing is to end the unnecessary suffering of innocent animals. And we're calling on you across the aisle to join us and give the time for this place to consider this bill, a bill that was brought to us by the government. Let's work together to do the right thing and put animal welfare before party politics. I heard and can see the members on the other side. I heard the members on the other side saying they supported this bill. They've supported this bill. They voted for this bill. They even served on the bill committee for this bill. So why can they not today join us and give us the time to get this through this place? Thank you.